We got a lot of things to go over, a lot of things to cover. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? So first of all, welcome to the live stream. Appreciate that you're here. And just like the thumbnail and title suggest, there's been some pretty negative news over the last couple of weeks or so. And I got to tell you, this news that has been coming out or has just come out really makes me extremely bullish in the very long term. Now, short term, we're going to talk about that today later in the DCA show with me and James from Invest Answers and Ben from Into the Cryptoverse. But for right now, what I really want to talk about is the long term. Me and those guys will talk about the short term and what this all potentially mean. But first of all, we'll take a look at do a little market recap. Also, I want to say thank you, Kazakhstan, and the shift in Bitcoin in the United States. And then there is this one problem. And there is one group that can royally screw up everything for crypto in the United States. We'll talk about those guys. And lastly, talk about Avalanche and its massive fundraising. But is it deflationary? This is a video that put out by Invest Answers. And then finally, we'll do 5 questions in 5 minutes. And just as you know, or potentially don't know, the DCA show with me and Ben and James will be in the next hour or so at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern. So check that out, and I'll put the link in the description below. So first of all, let's take a look at the market. And the market, I was kind of confused today, I'll be honest with you. And when we take a look at this, here's what we got. So I was looking at the market itself. I'm like, hey, it's a pretty good day, right? I mean, we're up a little bit. We're still below 2 trillion, but whatever. In the last 24 hours, we're up, we're up, we're up. And every time we go up in our market in crypto, I always think to myself, well, that means that, you know, if we're up, or if we're up a little bit, that means that the S&P 500 and NASDAQ should be up because we're in lockstep, especially with NASDAQ. And when I took a look at it, I was like, nope, that's not it. And it was weird because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. There goes my whole thesis. That sucks. I thought that we were, you know, really in tandem. And we take a look at NASDAQ, and so it is. And I'm like, hold on, wait. It doesn't update from yesterday. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So honestly, I thought I was like, well, I guess my thesis is wrong. However, this is what it is. It's Good Friday today. So even though Good Friday isn't a federal holiday or bank holiday, New York Stock Exchange NASDAQ will be closed on April 15th, just a day, right? Yeah, April 15th in observance. So I was like, well, there goes, that does make sense. So nothing today, nothing Saturday, nothing Sunday. So, you know, hopefully we'll get a little bit of a run, but who knows? And that's what's going on in the market. So let's jump into the top story, which is allow me to breathe a little bit easier. I got to be honest with you. Lately, I have not been in the best of moods with this market. And I think a lot of you share that same sentiment. But taking a look at what's going on macro and globally, we can kind of see that there's actually some positivity out there. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. So first of all, sorry for the people of Kazakhstan. Sorry. Sorry for the people in China. I'm sorry for the people in India. I'm sorry that you're getting screwed over by your governments, essentially, for crypto. Not Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is doing this thing, and I'll get into that right now. So Kazakhstan, to increase tax for miners, considers tying levy to crypto prices. This almost sounds to me like unrealized tax gains, but here's what it is. According to a statement by Minister of National Economy, ALLEVIATE, Kyantarov, nailed it. The plan is to calculate the tax based on the market value of the mined crypto. And here's what he says. We are considering an increase in the tax burden for miners. At the moment, we are also considering linking the tax rate for miners to the value of the crypto. If crypto grows, it'll be good for the budget. And this has gone back to my main thesis, which is this. People talk about, you know, certain countries, especially in America, banning crypto. I'm like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Why would they give up all those taxes? That's a lot of tax revenue. So the same thing with Kazakhstan. They're like, we're not going to ban it, but we're going to shut down different miners because we can't handle with the electricity load. That's what happened not too many months ago. Also, we're going to tax it. Unfortunately, they went the wrong way, just like with India. India is overtaxing all of its residents, and that's killing crypto trading, crypto accumulation in India, and we see that as far as the volume goes down. And it's going to be the same thing over here for miners. What does that mean? Well, it means essentially miners are going to go to some other place. They're like, we don't like being taxed that heavy. Why don't we just go to America? And this is what happened. If you are new to crypto, China used to have the lion's share of crypto mining, over 75%. Then the country banned it. And all those miners had to scramble. They sold their Bitcoin, which led to a little bit of downturn. And they went to different countries, such as Kazakhstan, such as different parts of other parts of the world, but mostly North America, because it's cheap. And by Kazakhstan doing this, I'm like, thank you. I can breathe. Because now you know what that means? That means that more crypto is going to come over, or more Bitcoin mining is going to come over here to America. And that's just job creation. That's good for regulation, because regulators are like, ooh, well, this is actually going good. And actually, who controls the regulators, in my personal opinion, is the politicians. And when the politicians see these job opportunities and increase in tax revenue, like, we should probably get on board in this. And this was an article from CoinDesk. Is miner concentration once again jeopardizing Bitcoin? Because some people may be afraid of this. I'm not. I'm happy. A high percentage of hash rate now located in North America may look like China 2.0, but it's a little bit more complicated. According to a report released by Cambridge for Alternative Finance in October, U.S. accounted for 35% of Bitcoin's global computing power in October 2021. That was at the end of August. And actually doubled at the end of April, from the end of April. So it was at 16.8%. 16.8% was the US Bitcoin hash rate in April. And then in August, let me do some quick math. May, June, July. So in 4 months, it went from almost 17% to 35%. It doubled. Kazakhstan and Russia follow the US with hash rates of 18.1 and 11% respectively. Guess what just happened to Kazakhstan? They're going to get hugely taxed, and they've already got an electricity grid issue. So what does that mean? They're all coming over here. And also in Russia, what are they having problems with? They're having problems globally. I don't know if they can. I mean, I will say this. They do have a lot of oil, so they can probably keep on the electricity. But with everything that's going on as far as the sanctions, maybe it's not a good idea for people who are mining Bitcoin in Russia. Maybe you should come someplace else. If you can. I don't know if you can or not. It's just a corporation. So anyhow, and then China had dropped to zero, down from a high of 75% in September 2019. That's good. CoinShares said in a research report that the largest global mining country in the US, with an estimated 49% of total global hash rate, is now in the region of the United States as of December 31st, 2021. 50%. Is that bad? Well, I mean, it's a free market. You can do whatever you want to do. So as far as these miners going someplace, they can do whatever they want. I mean, as far as like the operations, but just to be aware, proof of work ban narrowly failed to pass in a European Union Parliament committee vote not too long ago. So again, to me, I feel like all the other countries are just screwing up, and all America has to do is not drop the ball. I mean, just let everybody make the mistakes. It's just like in sports. Let the other team make the mistakes. Let China make the mistakes. Let Kazakhstan make the mistakes. Let the EU make the mistakes. Let the Indian government make the mistakes, not the people, the governments, and the regulators, and let them screw up, and let them come, and then let it come over here to the United States. And the United States go, wow, we've got a lot of things going on. Maybe we should not be so hasty in our assessment. And then just because I know people are going to start to scream about decentralization and globalization, stuff like this, just remember this, and this is the same thesis as far as China too. This concentration may seem like another threat to decentralization. However, mining pools don't control the network, and they don't have a lot of clout, because any miner can quickly change pools if there's any hint of foul play, censoring Bitcoin transactions, doing something kind of crazy. So just remember, just like how we talked about with China, like, oh, it's not a big deal, even though it's like 75%. Miners would always tell me the same thing. Rob, you don't understand mining. We can pick up and move anytime we want to and go to another pool. Okay, got it. So it's the same thing with America, which leads me to my next point. This is good news because, again, I think it's good job creation. It's good revenue sources. It's good tax sources. That's great. And even across the aisle, we've got bipartisan cooperation. Here's Ted Cruz. And of course, if you don't know, he's a Republican senator here from great state of Texas. And he says, as you know, I'm a huge proponent of Bitcoin. I'm a huge proponent of cryptocurrency. Notice he doesn't say blockchain. He says specifically Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And he's not saying like what the Chinese government or other governments say. They will say, and even Jamie Dimon will say this, I'm a big fan of blockchain. That's not what I asked you. Are you a fan of Bitcoin and crypto? Because blockchain is a whole different thing. I'm a fan of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Great. And then also, before I get my last piece here, is in America, the midterm elections are coming up, specifically Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. And what that means is in the House of Representatives and the Senate, there's going to be a runoff. And I'm just going to tell you right now, Democrats are going to lose. They're going to lose big. Even people up in the higher echelons of the Democrat convention, Democrats group will say, yeah, we're going to lose a lot of seats because of what's going on. Now, here's the thing. When you have a lot of politicians and they have no fear of losing, they don't really listen to people too much. However, when it's a hotly contested different area, all of a sudden they're like, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do that? Because I want to get in power or I want to stay in power. Tell me what you want me to do so I can be that representative that you are actually voting in, because I want to stay in power or I want to be in power. And I think that's going to be a big shift, because now you have a lot of politicians who, if you're not on board with crypto and digital assets, I think you're on the outskirts. And this leads me to, and we talked about this before, this was something that Kathy Woods had talked about. This is at the Bitcoin conference. It's 2 minutes, and she's pretty much saying that there's a basic shift in the politics of crypto. And this right here gives me a lot of relief when I hear these things in the long term as far as crypto and digital assets. So this is 1 minute and 45 seconds. Let me stop the screen. Some of you have already heard this already, but it bears witness to actually, it's good to actually hear it again. Let me go to the tab and let me mute myself so you don't get any echo.
We both have political opinions.
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we start with politics and regulation and economics? What do you see as we look forward, and how do you think it's going to affect Bitcoin?
Well, I think the most interesting thing that's happened, and we met someone from Mississippi, I think a congressman from Mississippi, and I'm seeing the politics around Bitcoin changing radically, because it has become, you know, the single issue that some people are voting on, and this is bipartisan. And even where we've moved in St. Pete, because people know that I'm very Bitcoin focused, the politicians have come to me and said, I want to pull together a room of Bitcoin enthusiasts, and I really want to learn from them what they want from us. Think about that. Think about that. That is a radical shift over the last few years. The other thing that I see, so a year ago, roughly, when Janet Yellen was appointed Treasury Secretary, I remember her first comments about Bitcoin were money laundering, you know, nefarious characters, environmentally damaging. And then 2 weeks ago, someone's whispering in her ear, and we talked about this, you think it might be Gary Gensler. There is someone whispering in the ears of politicians, if you want to lose, if you want the US to lose out on this, one of the most amazing innovation platforms of all times, you keep talking like that. So she has changed her tune. So I'm very
I'm positive too. I like to hear those things because Kathy's probably in the upper echelon, talking to a lot of big hitters, a lot of big players, and a lot of politicians. And I'm sure, I'm not just guessing actually, that this is some good news and things that she hears as with her ear to the ground. And also I want to just make mention of one small piece right here. Be careful with stuff like this. We see where it says live now, Tesla CEO Elon Musk will start pumping cryptocurrency. That's a scam. And they're all over the place. And what is amazing to me is that you got 12,000 people watching this. And like on my stream, I'm roughly around 1,000. So I don't know how many bots those are, if those are real people, but it just goes to show you, if it's not bots, there's some really super greedy people out there, or naive, or gullible, or people that just want to take advantage of. And it just infuriates me that there are so many of these scams going on, and yet YouTube can shut down all these different crypto channels, yet they cannot shut down all those scams. God dang, I can't believe that. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Let's go on to the next piece. The only group that can screw this up is the SEC. That's really what it comes down to. The people that can really mess this up, because we're seeing that politicians they're doing their due diligence, just like Kathy said. They're like, hey, sit down with me. Let me sit down with my constituents. Let me figure out what you guys want. Let me talk to some people that actually know what's going on so I can make the best decisions for my region. They get it, right? And politicians get it. The regulators, even Janet Yellen is getting it. But it's this SEC and their stubbornness. It's amazing to me. It's amazing. And I was wrong about Gary Gensler. I'll just tell you right there. And this is just one more piece of the puzzle. So here's what we got for this story. It's very quick. I'm not going to dwell on it. There's a new rule seeks to change the definition of exchange to include entities that connect buyers and sellers. A new rule proposed by the SEC to expand its definition of exchanges will unfairly subject developers and publishers to registration requirements. That's the whole thing. That's the whole story right there. So again, there's another proposal coming out where they slipped in some different language, and it can be interpreted different ways. That's the whole thing with bills. But there is one more piece that gives me hope. And this was actually, again, on the Bitcoin conference. That gentleman right there, Director of Policy and Public Affairs at Bitcoin Magazine, Grant McCarty, announced the launch of a multifaceted political effort. There's three: Bitcoin Advocacy Project, or BAP, Bitcoin Policy Institute, BPI, and the newly registered Financial Freedom PAC. So all these different PACs or organizations, they're working for us to make sure that the politicians and hopefully the regulators are doing the right things, and they know and they're educated to make sure they're making the right decisions. It's a 501c4 nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting and defending Bitcoin users in the U.S. by fighting against political efforts to protect self-custody and proof of work. BAP created candidate scorecards. I thought it was interesting. They created candidate scorecards, so different politicians that are coming up are already in power, to track which politicians are pro-Bitcoin and which are anti-Bitcoin. Pretty interesting. BAP has also educated lawmakers on Bitcoin. It's helped lawmakers draft legislation to protect proof of work and Bitcoin self-custody. Boy, I got to tell you, they got to go over to the EU and help them draft that new bill. But this part right here, as far as the scorecards, and that was BAP. So I looked it up. BAP is Bitcoin Advocacy Project. And this is what they have. It's just the Twitter. I couldn't find a website. Maybe I'm missing it. I did a search, Bitcoin Advisory Project, candidate scorecards, nothing. I can't find it. So if anybody has that information, I would love to have that and put that, link that in the description so people can actually find it and they can say, hey, if I'm voting, maybe I want to vote for somebody who has my interest aligned with what I want, and then go from there. So that takes care of that. Let me know what you think about the comment section. And lastly, let's finish up and get the heck out of here with Avalanche. Avalanche and its massive fundraise. Sue, here's what's going on. And to be transparent, I own a lot of crypto, and Avalanche is one of those. So I'm a little biased, just so you know. Avalanche Labs reportedly hits $5.25 billion valuation with new raise. The report falls an incentive program aiming to develop application-specific blockchains in Avalanche. Previous investors in the Avalanche ecosystem include Andreessen Horowitz, same people, Three Arrows Capital, and Polychain. Interesting. Latest Ava Labs raised $350 million just recently. That's pretty good. And now they're evaluated at $5.25 billion. So when you raise that much money, you kind of got to prove to people that you're worth it, because you're like, hey, we're worth it, baby. You can trust me. Give us some money. They give you a bunch of money. So if you're getting negative press, it doesn't look good for you. Just saying. The Avalanche Foundation also revealed an incentive program last month that would put up to 4 million AVAX tokens worth $320 million toward a program called Avalanche Multiverse. It aims to grow its subnet functionality, which helps develop application-specific blockchains in Avalanche. This leads me to my last point. And I thought it was funny, and I thought it was interesting. This is James over at Invest Answers. And actually, this is Crypto Banter. And they had I always want to call him Eminem. I know it's not right. There we go. Emin Gun Sear, nailed it. And he's the CEO and creator of Avalanche. And he came on and was with the crypto banter people and was like, hey, it's not inflationary like James talked about in his show. It's deflationary, and went over all these numbers. And then James came out as like, no, this is the deal. And this is why it's inflationary. And it made a lot of sense, actually. And it was massively inflationary. And James looks crazy there. I'm going to switch that. Okay. Yeah, that's better. So I'm just going to have you watch that video. I linked it in the description below, and it was just fascinating. And to me, it's kind of like, well, and in the video, you can kind of see that Emin was pretty ticked off about the whole thing. But remember, when you raise that much money, you kind of want to be like, I'm worth it, baby. I'm worth it. Anyhow, that's what's going on. And then lastly, just so you know, we've got the DCA show. So I just want to talk about the long-term stuff. I'm bearish. I'm super bullish on the market in general. But I have my concerns about these upcoming quarters, and especially right now. And I think you feel it, and I feel it too. So we're going to get to the bottom of it. I got a lot of good questions for these guys that only they can answer. So tune in roughly about an hour. The link is, actually, link's in the description, and just set a reminder. That's what I always do because I always forget stuff. And that's what's going on. So that's it for today's show. We're going to do 5 questions in 5 minutes, and we'll go from there. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I started somebody. Oh, Beardy Day Crypto. This guy's funny. You should follow him on Twitter. So Beardy says, Tom Emmer is in my beloved state. I want to say it's Minnesota. I always get that wrong. But yeah, Tom Emmer is great. He is pro Bitcoin, pro crypto. He wants to get rid of the investment, some parts of the regulation to be an accredited investor, which I think is stupid anyhow. So I like that guy a lot. He should run for president. You know, this would be a great ticket. The mayor of Miami, Suarez, as the presidential candidate, and Tom Emmer as the VP. Who wouldn't vote for those two guys? I'd vote for them in a heartbeat. So yeah. All right. Enough of my nonsense. Let's get to your good questions. All right. Question number 1. Clarence, did he already talk about the BS itself? Yes, I covered this in like 3 days ago. And it was just, doesn't make any sense to me. But actually, it does make sense to me. I can't say that. I understand why Celsius and Mashinsky, Alex, and those groups, I understand why they bowed the knee to the regulators. Because it's either you got 2 choices. Either bow to them, or you go through a costly, very costly litigation and see where it all ends up. And they just said, you know, we want to deal with you guys. So we'll cut back, and at some point we'll work with you to make it work. I got to tell you, I know people say, well, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal. I think it's a bigger deal than people letting on. That's like Celsius is one of their big things. And again, just watch the video. It's only for United States investors and or non-accredited investors. So if you're outside the United States, don't worry about it. You don't have to give yourself an ulcer or stuff like that. Oh man, sorry. Sold Luna $5 done inside. That's why I'm bullish, because like I don't sell until I really need it. And don't worry about it, man. Silverback Gorilla. If you missed an opportunity, it's okay. Another bus is coming right around the corner. Just pick up the next opportunity. I want to move to Thailand. Yeah, I heard it's really cheap there. Let's see. I don't know what that is. I can't even put that. in. Great question, investor. Celsius is all good for you customers. As far as I know, all good for you customers. Only affects United States non-accredited investors. We are not going to get any yield. Now, I could put in my paperwork to the accredited investors to become an accredited investor, but why? It doesn't do you guys any good. A lot of my subscribers are not accredited investors. And I just think it's I think it's unfair for what the accredited investors do. You can go to any casino and gamble your life savings away, but damn it, don't you dare invest into some type of new technology, because we will right here to protect you from making money. Gary Gensler. I know Gary watched the show. He knows I'm kidding. All right. So, Rob, do you think Luna's a scam? No, I don't think it's a scam so far. Seems to be doing okay. I like the fact that they're buying up Bitcoin. Use investor money to buy Bitcoin. It's kind of how it works. Let's be honest. So, actually, I will just say this: if you don't like a project, do a ton of research and just consider everything a scam until proven otherwise. You'll be a lot happier and a lot richer if you treat people like that, or treat projects like that. You can't treat people like that. All right. And then one more question, we'll get out of here. And then before I forget, let me sweet. I'll get in a bit. I'll put in in 1 more hour, we'll do the DCA show. And that's it. Yeah, this is a great question. Is it true that Solana's true TPS is around 180 if they don't count blockchain confirmation? Other chains don't appear to count that. I have heard that the TPS is actually more around 440 as opposed to millions. That would require a deep dive. I will just say this. Have you ever used Solana for different things like it's NFT or trend? It's fast. It's super fast. And the transaction fees are next to nothing. So I know, and you know, that you have used Ethereum, and it's a lot different than what that is. Now, the real question is, can they maintain that? I don't really care. Can they maintain that as they start to scale to 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion people and go from there? I don't know. And that's it. All right, that's it for what's going on. I got to get ready for the next show. So everybody, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing. All things to talk about are time sensitive. And that's it for today. So I'll see you on the DCA show with Ben and James on the same channel. And that's it. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Adios.